Well, hey there, everybody. Doofus Bob here again. We left off. We did some snow R&D in the last episode, and we used drywall mud. This time, I watched a few more videos, and I had this bucket of plaster of Paris, and I wanted to try that as well. So that's what I'm going to do in this episode. And I did some. I already did some. You can see all the white on the ridges here. And I liked it so much, I just went ahead and ran with it. We poured some like a thin drywall mix here and here, and you can see some up here. And I was pretty happy with the way it looked, come down here. But then I thought, well, I wonder how the plaster would look if I did something similar. So I just made like a thin, kind of a little bit thinner than pancake mix drywall. Sorry, plaster of Paris and water. And I just kind of smeared some over here. And then I took, let's see, took this one here. This is a little bit thicker. And then this one was fairly thick. This was the consistency of probably vanilla pudding, okay? And I really like the way these two look here. This over here is also I just took a bunch, poured it on there, and just kind of wiped it this way with a putty knife. And this right here is this solution, but I just kind of smeared it a little bit. And they look like natural snow drifts. So the question then was, which way do we want to go? Because I think the drywall mix as a thin layer of snow is going to look pretty good. You can see a little bit of the blue coming through it. But the plaster mix, you can't really see the blue underneath. Now, how many snow drifts do we need? We're getting a little deep here. I could spend a year just on the snow, and I don't want to do that. So what I did is I just decided, okay, I'm going to make a decision and run with it. So what I did was I made some, I'd say the consistency of pancake syrup, and then some stuff that was only half as wet, and I just bunched that up. So one thing to know, if you don't know, I'm going to say it. Plaster of Paris gives you a work time of about 10 minutes. Okay. The thicker it is, the less time you're going to have. A standard plaster of Paris mix, I don't know if you're out there casting Bigfoot prints, you've got about 10 to 15 minutes. A thick one, I was timing it a little bit, you got about 5 minutes. So the benefit of the thick one was, and I just did this about 15 minutes ago. Look how hard, you can listen to it. Is I glopped it down with the spoon, and look how you got these nice little peaks. What I want to do is some of the ice ridges here, they seem a bit too smooth. Yes, there's some ice on there, but they're mostly rock. So I want to break up that texture with some hard patches. Okay, so that's what this is. I just smeared some up here, 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 and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over it. I'm going to paint it with the same black, and then go back and pour some of the plaster, maybe like a thin plaster like you saw over here, or a thin drywall like we did in the previous episode. Okay, let me show you something else. And I will show you in a minute how I applied the plaster. So this was full-blown R&D experimental. Let me go through what I did here. So I smeared some thick plaster up here, and then I got some black paint, and I just kind of dry brushed over it a little bit just to see how it would take, and it took pretty well. This chunk here is a big glop of the plaster. This is a chunk, this is a chunk. So you can see this is a chunk of plaster right here. This is this here. And then I painted it black. And then I wanted to experiment with pouring thin plaster versus thin drywall. This right here is a thin plaster. Okay. It's not bad, but doesn't look all that natural, does it? On the other hand, this right here and this over here and some of this is the thin drywall poured over painted plaster rocks, if you will. And I like the way that looks. So what are we going to do? We will make rock textures using the plaster of Paris. Then we'll paint black over it. Then we will paint. We will pour the thin drywall mix to achieve that effect there. But around where the rocks are, we're gonna pour it on top like this and just let it kind of wash down on its own to give it a natural look. I got this white bowl here, unfortunately. It's a little ceramic bowl, but it's really the best. I was using a styrofoam bowl and I kept punching through it. So here's one of the pieces. And this is the only one I think that has this big line in them. And that's been bugging me for a while. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna, if I'm sure you've played with plaster before. If you haven't, you can look it up. But really, I'm gonna add enough water to just get the consistency that I want. So this one is we're making rocks. Okay. Now you can buy rock molds on Amazon. Fill it with this plaster mixture I'm about to make. Wait 10 minutes. They're silicone molds. You pop them out. You can put them right here and glue them down. Or you can just do what I'm about to do. And I always add too much freaking water. You know what? I think I actually got it right this time. We're just going to mix that up. I had some dried plaster in here already, so sounds a little rough. Ooh, probably too much. Sorry about the squeaking there. So if you do use a bowl and you're a little kid and your mom is like, "Oh my God, you use one of my best mixing bowls for your plaster," that's okay. Just let it soak in water, and it'll fall apart. Now, if you've already sealed it with glue or something, then it may not. But we're not doing that here. Remember, the black paint mixture that we use has some glue in it, so it's all right. So there you go. And this does have some texturing on there already. You can follow that or just ignore it, make something new. Just picture the top of a ridge. If I do this, look, I just created some natural little spikes, which, with all the wind that's probably passing over this glacier, there's probably not going to be a lot of rough spots. But, this is sci-fi fantasy, so who cares? It's yours. Make it look however you like. So what I'd like to do is just break up the texturing a little bit. There was some dried up pieces in there. I'm just going to leave that in there. It looks pretty good. You can smear it around. And all these smears and everything, when they dry, it's just going to look like sharp rocks. So it's fine. You can use your finger to just kind of push that in here. Now, if you go too smooth, it actually looks like, like you did caulking or something. And if you don't want it to look that way, then don't do that. Let me grab something here. You can get a little wire brush like this after it's done and just kind of rough it up. You can actually get a putty knife or a spoon and just kind of gouge underneath it and pop it up. You can probably tap on it hard enough to break the pieces off if you don't like what you've done. So it's not permanent. Once you've sealed it, it's just more work to get it off of there. So make sure you do it the way you like and you're happy with it. Let's get some more plaster in here. Now, the first time I played with plaster on a different project before the YouTube channel, just wasn't thinking. I made this huge batch and it started getting hard on me, and oh my goodness, I just had this massive batch of plaster I ended up ruining. A little more in this one. Oh, too much. That's what I'm talking about. Should probably not use a giant jug to do this, but it's okay. I was using a plastic spoon to do this, but I was stirring hard enough to where I broke a couple. So So a nice trick for this is go ahead and mix what you got. Watch your time. Just stir it up until it's homogeneous. And then you can add some more plaster to get the thickness that you want. Otherwise, you're fighting with the old plaster and the new plaster. Meanwhile, you're running out of time. Okay, so a little bit more. Hope you're having a good Saturday. I myself did absolutely nothing yesterday. Decided to catch up on some movies and sat down here in my Star Wars man cave and watched. What did I watch yesterday? I watched Utopia 2, and then rewatched Django. I like that movie. I'm a big fan of Quentin Tarantino. And then caught up on some shows, watching some like that show on I think it's on Acorn, probably the BBC originally. Father Brown with the guy who played the dad in Harry Potter. He was Mr. Weasley, so he's got a show. I like the British crime stuff. Okay, so you can see the consistency here. And the longer I wait after this, the tougher it's going to get. So let's use this opportunity to fill in this here. You don't have to fill in the cavity completely underneath it. You just need to get enough above so that it turns hard. There. And what I can do is just kind of merge all this together because you don't want it to look like a seam, right? So if I put a little bit back here like this, following the pattern of the top part, like that, and break it up a little bit. You can leave a little bit there. It looks like a natural formed chasm or something. That's fine. You can push that in there. We can slope it out a little bit if you want to over here. Put this over there. You know, don't, said this before, it's up to you how perfect you want it. Perfection is a folly. Do not fall into it. You'll see some products out there that are pretty awesome, but what you don't know is somebody literally drove themselves crazy trying to get it that good. Get down and dirty here. And just fill that in again. Just breaking up this 90-degree angle that shouldn't exist. And then you get some more. Get under our finger like that. And just leave a big chunk that's over there doing that. Come off the back of the spoon. There's another chunk over here that's doing that. There you go. Just kind of filling it in. And there you go. Now, the last episode was a little long. There was a lot to the R&D part. This one, not so much. Not so much. I've kind of made up my mind on what I want to do. And just to make this little random piece there. Maybe put a little random piece over there sticking out. Turn it this way. Put that there. Let's make some more. Don't need a lot more though. Let me show you real quick. Let me show you what happens when you think you have a great idea and it doesn't. Take a look at this. You're like, what the hell is that? So this is the top of a bucket. This is one of those buckets that you can lock. So we had these buckets at my job and we were just getting rid of all, throwing everything away. And I looked at the inside here and I was like, oh, that would make a great landing pad, you know? And then from the outside, I've already got all this nice texture, but I wanted to fill the inside so that a starship like this A-wing, you can picture it flying in and just landing there, right? That's a great little landing pad. So I needed to fill it in because it went pretty deep otherwise, and it wouldn't work otherwise. So I was like, okay, how am I going to fill this in? Well, I had this bucket of plaster. So I was like, oh, I'll pour that in there. So I made some, poured in, made some, poured in, made some. Next thing you know, I ended up using half the effing bucket of plaster. Filled it up, just way too much plaster. But it came out with a nice texture. Like if I painted this a grayish and put some different colors on here to make it look like a concrete landing platform or a metal one. Maybe put some grading on here. Here's the problem. It looks fine. This is really for my spaceport. You can see that series on this channel. This thing, ugh, I've weighed it. It weighs 7 pounds. There's so much freaking plaster in here that it was weighing down parts of the. This is going to go on the second level of the spaceport. It was too heavy. It was breaking the foam. So there it is. There's a mistake, and I still got it here. What am I going to do with this? I don't know. Probably use it as a base for something else. Actually, what we could do is take it for a base and put this guy on there, and that could be an episode right there. Just paint it and whatever, blah blah blah. I've got some other figures I can do, but anyway, I thought I'd take a minute to show you that just because you make a mistake on something, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so let's get back to this. All right, I'm gonna put some water in here. Move our brush out the way. Watch me overdoing the water. I need something smaller to pour out. That's what I need. I can't use that pitcher for food anymore because I ended up putting some chemical in there once and plant killer, and I don't want to use it for anything else. Okay, so that's a little bit thin. So let's put a little bit more in there. That should do. Yeah, there we go. Now, sometimes you need 2 spoons to clean the one off and do the other. Sorry about the camera angle. This is kind of the best way I know how to do it. I think we got a couple more subscribers again. Welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Feel free to leave comments, and maybe share a picture if you're building anything. Terrain Tutor likes to ask for people to do that, and I always send pictures of what I'm doing on his channel. I love that guy's stuff. Love his work. I want to fill in this area here a little bit, like that, like that. Make a break of that. Makes it look like I'm doing caulking again. There we go. And then you can also just take it and remember, this is a rock face, so do it like that. And you got this little ledge over here. Probably put something over here. And then put a little bit of something there. It's getting kind of hard on me. Might hear a little sound there in the background. That's my sump pump is running. All that rain we've had in the Midwest. There's actually another storm coming, I heard. So I'm going to leave that there. Put that over there. It just looks like a little outcropping of rock. And put that there. There we go. So after this dries, I'm going to paint it all with black. All right. So next episode, we will do the final black paint on all the ridges. I will try to decide how I want to do these. It'd be nice if I put them down on foam so I can move them around. But I think that'd be too many pieces to move around. And remember, I'm not actually playing a tabletop terrain game. This is just a display. So the ridges I want to be able to these big ridges I want to be able to pick up. The smaller mounds here, I'm not too concerned about having to pick those up. And these are some pieces here that just kind of fell. You can see this one not really stuck anywhere. I'll just leave it. It looks good. Looks natural. So I will probably make some more of this and spread it around. Let's do one here so you know what I'm talking about. Sorry about the squeaking. So let's pick a spot. Get the plaster out the way and move the ridge. I know this series is very slow. And if you're watching this video, but you haven't seen the others, this is a hobby. I'm taking my time because I enjoy doing this. So just enjoy it. You're welcome to bounce around. I don't know if the YouTube algorithm doesn't like it if I say that, but I'll put a little bit more water in here because it got dry on me. So hold on. I almost goofed on you here. This is it's okay. Put that back, and to get that nice white look, I almost forgot. My friend, the paint. Okay, that should be good. You're gonna have to decide how much paint to add. You saw how much I just added there versus how much. Oh boy, this is getting hard on me. Okay, so there we go. And we'll just put a little bit there, and just kind of put it over there. So like what this is, so when they dug out the snow, I mean, they had to put it someplace, right? So they can put a little bit there, following along here, just a little mound. And then over here, what you can do is you can kind of go like this, right? And it can just be like natural made barrier that the rebels put up. We're going to do that. And then take a little bit more water. Oh, too much water, maybe. Okay, so let's pick a spot here. So we did some over here with the drywall. So let's just put a little bit. Just kind of make it look like there's a mound here. Maybe there's some rocks in there. And we're going to have, remember, echo base entrance is over here. You can put a little bit over here and just kind of smear it around, give us a little texture here. With the white paint and the little bits of hard plaster in there, it looks like nice terrain. Got some dust over here. I have gone on Etsy and ordered some. Now I'm following the path, the outline of the ridge that's going to sit here. So we'll just go like this. I got on Etsy and I found this really nice, a really nice, what do you call it? The shield generator. So that should be here by next episode. So just giving myself a little texture here. Glaciers are not just flat, are they? There we go. This one's a little off to the side, but so there we are. This is what we're doing. Now it hasn't been that long while I've been talking here. There's no wet stuff. There's a little bit of wet stuff there, but it's all right. And here's my little paintbrush. Look at that. It's dry already. If I tap hard enough, it's going to crack, but we're going to paint over this with black, like I mentioned earlier. I didn't want to do a plaster R&D as well, because I'll get carried away. I'll just start doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay, so there we go. Like I said, we will put a fresh coat of the black paint with the glue and the water and the paint on here, just like what we did similar to previous episodes. And that will seal the plaster. And then we will go over that and we will pour some of the drywall mix like we did here to kind of give us that smooth, snow-covered look. This was a quick episode. Demonstrating plaster. If the plaster comes out too smooth, see, I just said quick episode and I thought of something else. If the plaster comes out too smooth, then you can get the brush and go over it, right? And rough it up. Now, if you get a heavy duty wire brush and you do that, you're going to chip all the plaster off. So you have to like kind of go hard and then soft over it. And it's I can talk about it, but you kind of have to do it and see for yourself. But I think this is going to look pretty good without having to do all that. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to do today was let's start putting down some snow drifts. And as I said earlier, so this is the one we just did about, probably, it's been about 30 minutes. And this is plaster on top of drywall. This is just drywall. This is plaster. So you can see the plaster has a little bit more body to it. I'm going to move our friend here. And one good thing is I found my putty knife, or my little painter's knife. This came with a set, and it was actually really helpful. Remember, we're going to have figures along here. And one of the things they do during trench warfare is they take the debris and the stuff they dig out of the trenches, and they use that to make barriers. So we're going to do the same thing. Put in some plaster. I was reading the back of this, and I think it says, so where did it say it? 2 parts plaster to 1 part cold water. So we do that. Now, of course, I need a little bit thicker, right, because of what we're doing. So I'm going to add some water. Again, I'm not making a huge batch. I'll start with that because I always put too much water. Because it is snow, we're going to add some acrylic white paint to it. Okay. Now, although it's been about 30 minutes since I put this down, the plaster ones, that's pretty dry. And if I bring over this piece here, this, pretty dry. However, the part that had a little acrylic paint, you see, still has a bit of a shine to it. It's not dry yet. Okay, let's mix this up because I'm talking while this stuff is sitting here. Put a little bit more water in there. And sometimes you have to use 2 spoons, kind of get it off the other spoon. I'm going to do a couple of these. I'm going to do all of it because I'm actually just going to sit here in the man cave and do this today because that's what I'm doing. I actually took Monday off of work too, just because they're getting on my damn nerves over there. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a day off so I don't stab nobody. Of course, there's a good chance they could watch this and be upset about it, but they'll get over it. Okay, need a little bit more. There we go. I'm trying to watch my work time here. Oh yeah, that's much better. So this should flow nicely, and yeah, gotta say I like the smell of acrylic paint. I didn't think it was a big deal when I was a little kid, and they used to hand me a brush and a can of paint and say, "Go paint the barn, boy." I was like, okay, and of course I didn't mind the smell of the paint, but that was a pretty harsh chemical thing. All right, similar to what we did here. Ooh, this is still pretty soft, isn't it? Let's do that. And we're going to travel along this way. So because that's the ridge, picture them just taking all this debris and stuff and putting it over here so that when the Imperial troops come, they have a hell of a time coming over. Same here. Push it back. Figure it out. Yeah, not like that. Get my spoon. I have to do this in small batches because, stuff dries pretty quick. So I'm using the plaster compound to do this part. And then we'll use the drywall mix to kind of put a thin layer over here. I'm trying to make sure this makes some sense here. There we go. So what you want to do is picture the rebels. They come over, they start digging, and they have all this snow and probably some rocks. There we go. Make it look a little bit more slanted up. About like. Yeah. And you kind of just go like this, and even over there. Okay, so you picture that throwing all of it over here and just kind of stomping on it to make a barrier that they can then look over. It's in their best interest to stop the troops, make the Imperials have to jump down. Now, obviously, the troops here have to go on to the next trench on the rebel side, so we're going to leave an opening probably over here. Now, for this part, if it comes out looking like kind of grainy like this, that's okay because we kind of want that. So what I'm going to do is break up some of these other little bits that have fallen here. So here's a nice little trick. Here I have a bunch of drywall bits, really. I'm sorry, plaster bits, not drywall bits. And what I'm going to do is you can take a little bit of this and just sprinkle it over like this. And you come back with your knife and just kind of tap it in there, kind of give it that dug out debris look, right? So I'm going to put some more in there. And I'm going to get my plaster. I'll put some of this in here. See how that looks. Now, if you know precisely what you're going to do, then by all means, go ahead and make a bigger batch. I kind of do know what I want to do, but again, I tend to change my mind sometimes. Sorry, all the time. Now this looks a little bit more lumpy. All right, so same as before. This is a little bit thinner material. Probably should have made it a little bit thicker. But remember, this is the rebellion on this side, and they're not very consistent, are they? They take what they can get. Okay, we're going to leave a space over here. Probably something that juts out like this. There we go. So let me put some more over here. I do also have some barricade stuff that I got off Etsy. We'll get to that in another episode. All right, made this probably a little bit too thin, but let's just come across here like this. And then take this, put that on there. Let's see if we can do this without making a mess. Yeah, there we go. So you gotta remember, when the Empire showed up in the Hoth system, I don't think these trenches and stuff were dug. I don't think they knew exactly where the Empire was going to land and come and attack from. I mean, sure, there was only a few directions, but I'm not sure how much was set up. And the time to go from mid-system to the Hoth planet at sublight drive speed is actually quite a while. I mean, I don't think it took them, I don't know if it took them weeks, but they had some time to prepare. So in my little bowl of plaster bits and whatnot, we have all this. So what we can do is take that and just kind of stick those around to be like little boulders. You can paint them first, but I'm just going to throw it there like that. And when all that dries, it's going to look like that. That's actually that's fine. That's kind of what I was going for. Now this is, so one thing we can do, now it's too late to do it here maybe. No, we still got time. I'm going to dig like this. Okay. Now, here's what I'm doing. So if you have a gunner, he's going to need line of sight, right? So what I'm doing is digging out these little spots where they can see through. Maybe like right here. So that when that dries, it looks like, so what they did in World War One, they piled all the dirt up along the trenches, and then they had sandbags. And I'm not doing sandbags, but they had barriers, right? And in between, they would make a little spot so they can, put the rifle through and shoot at the Germans. So here we go. Yep, that looks pretty good. It's pretty good. I've got enough material here to where I can do this. Actually, hold on. Right over here, we've got this where the permanent marker is kind of coming up. Let's do this. Let's put a little bit of that there. And then take this stuff and just put it over here. Kind of like a little debris pile, right? There we go. And what we can do is put a little water in here. Okay. And we're going to take our wash like that. Okay, so we just gathered up a lot of the plaster and water and paint that was already stuck in here. We're just going to kind of sprinkle that on here. Okay. And what that's going to do, creates like a little debris pile. Okay. All right. So now you're probably thinking, well, that's not much of a barrier, Bob. Well, hold on. Hold on. Let's grab. Here's Captain Jack. Okay. Now that little groove I just made for him to shoot, that is just the right height. And I'm going to tell you, didn't do that on purpose, but I like the way it worked out. Now, if you've got a snow trooper coming here, okay, look at, well, I don't think you can see. So now you can kind of see the level that Captain Jack is at over here, and then the stormtrooper over here. So this is it's a pretty good. It's a little blurry, isn't it? So the zoom on this camera is terrible. You see the snow barrier is just the right height for Captain Jack. And if our snow trooper has to come over and jump over this, wow, he can do it, but it's going to be a problem. And actually, I think I should make it even higher. So let's do that. Okay. So let's make some more. Now, adding the acrylic paint does alter the drying time. If you look here, this from when the 20 minutes ago when I started making this, it's a little bit less shiny, so it is drying. It's just going to take a minute. So the less water, the more gritty it's going to look. I think that's what we should be aiming. Now I'm putting my spoons and stuff over here, and there's all sorts of little bits falling. You can see there's some over here. I'm not sure if that's on camera, but there's some over here, a little bit over there. That's all right. It's just going to add to the natural variation that we probably want. Make that a little bit higher. Remember, this is just snow that they've piled up over here that they dug out of the trench. And if some of it looks dirty, that's okay. You're familiar with black ice, right? Okay, I think I want a little bit more over here. I'm not going to make a 2-hour video of me just doing this, but did want to, that looks much better. So I think that first batch we did was a little bit too thin. This one is much better. Looks more debris-like. Let's see, maybe probably right here. Now, if after this dries, you decide, oh shit, I want more little places where the rebel troops can shoot through, you can take a little putty knife like this and just dig into the plaster, and you should be fine. All right. Let's go a little bit more over here. There we go. Use my spoon. Just scrape out all the rest of this. Like I said, I was gonna go somewhere and see some friends today, but there's a big windstorm, and one of my friends is concerned. He's afraid to leave the house. He's afraid it's gonna blow down or something. I don't blame him. So the other one was like, yeah, maybe he'll stay home too. It's actually like almost 70 and sunny outside, but I get it. I get it. I'll leave that there. Looks like a big chunk of ice. Okay, so that is roughly what I wanted to do. And looking at this on the camera from that angle, it looks really nice. It's not clean. You don't want it clean. You know, they came out and they're like, oh shit, the Imperials are here. Quick, dig out a trench. And they're just throwing everything over here, making up barriers, using boulders and rocks and chunks of ice. And that's how you want it to look, okay? There hasn't been enough time for fresh snow to fall on this debris from the trench. But the stuff, ooh, what is this? Ooh, okay, so that's interesting. Let me talk about that then. So if you see the spot right here, let me move this over. This is where I said you got to be careful. This is this little darkish spot. Looks like maybe there was a little water on the bottom of something. And so now that's a little dark. So if I start rubbing on that, some of the paint will come out. So let's just leave that alone. Um, always, yeah, pay attention to once you get to a point where you've done all this painting and whatnot, pay attention to what you're setting down. Little bits of white debris is okay, but water is probably not a good idea. So fresh snow hasn't had a chance to fall on this ridge mess, right? But over here in some of this other area, we can definitely do that. So that's what I'm gonna do here next. I'm gonna create some snow mounds. And this stuff, we don't really want it to be gritty looking like over here or over here. We want it a bit smoother like over there. So let's mix together something. Okay, so I want a smooth texture this time. So I'm going to use the water and the paint to get all this out of here. There's not much in there, so it should be nice and smooth. I tell you, getting the camera and the lighting and all this stuff, it was a part of the YouTube thing I did not really give any thought to. The first videos for the Spaceport, if you go and look at that, they're not very good. They were filmed on my iPhone, and I told my channel manager, Donut, I was like, just upload it. It'll be fine. No, it wasn't. They didn't look very good. Okay, so for this one, I don't want it to be too thick. In fact, I may add a little bit more, just a splash, to thin it out. I want it to flow a little bit. Ooh, okay. Oh, there we go. And the more, you don't want it water, but here, look. Okay? See how it's, so when it hits in the bowl, it mounds a little bit. Okay, so let's see. We have a little bit of a dip here, a dip there. This over here looks pretty. All right, and then the other ridge is going to come this way. So let's just start pouring a bunch of this here. Okay, and then we take our friend a little knife. You can use a spoon too, like I did in the last episode. And we're just going to move all this around here like this. Okay. Like that. Try to let it flow on its own a little bit. There we go. Okay. And then, so what I'm doing, making a nice flow. So it snowed, okay? It snowed. And then we got, I'm just feeling where I had my dips. There's a little nice little mound here. Go this way. Probably come around this way. A little bit that way. So you're probably like, hey, you're coming up all the blues and stuff. Well, there's fresh snow on top of here. Okay. And we did some over here too. So we're going to cover that up a little bit. Get a little bit of depth. And let's see. Feeling up here a little bit. Yep. There's a little bit of a ridge coming over here. A little bit over there. Definitely. Now the other ridge kind of sits over here. So it's definitely going to have some snow piled up over here, which we're going to go back and backfill later with more. So yeah, it looks pretty good. We probably have to go back and touch this up with a little bit of white paint. We'll make a thin wash and do that. So yeah. Okay, so you got an idea of what we're doing. This will dry. We'll take a picture and we'll talk about it. Okay, so here we are. This is the end of the video. This outro, it's actually, I did a lot of this work last weekend, but I got busy and had a few things to do, so I didn't get to make the outro. And I was kind of letting everything, all the drywall and the plaster set. I didn't want to start playing with everything and then having it fall apart. It shouldn't. This is pretty hard stuff. Even the drywall stuff is hard. So just before we go out, I've put some of the stuff here that's going to be here eventually. And we got some rebel troops here. I'll put some close-up pictures I took with my iPhone. We've got the what do you call it? The snow trenches, the barricades and stuff. There's mounds of snow we made. I like the way that comes out. We've got some mounds here and there where, we just poured stuff down. We've got some that's different layered. We've got with the drywall mud thin stuff we poured down. Then we put some thin plaster stuff on top of it. I've got a variation of, some of it had a little bit of white paint. Some of it had a lot of white paint. But in general, it all looks pretty good. Let me grab one of these and show you. So you can see here where all this white plaster is. That's going to be some of the rock. Might be some of the snow too, but we're going to paint it all black. And then we're going to, that's the next episode. Actually, I'm going to start filming that here in an hour. Paint everything black and then go back over it with some browns and some grays and some dry brushing. Give the rock underneath it kind of a more of a rock color. And then probably in the same episode, because I think I'm stretching it out too far, we'll make a large mixture of drywall mud and water and glue, and we'll pour that down all the ridges to give them that final snow look. And then I think we'll be done with that part. We're getting close here, pretty close. There'll be some episodes where we're gonna have to start painting some of these figures because I have what you see here is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, about 22 Star Wars Legion figures here. I have a lot more, a lot more. This is there's gonna be, I don't know, at least 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 8 or 9 Imperial squads coming this way. And then we've got a couple more Tauntauns and some more of these little Scout Walker guys. And I have ordered a shield generator, resin cast. That's should be here then too. And I've also bought some of the laser cannons that you saw in Hoth. Those will be set over here too. We might actually probably should have waited to have those here before I start pouring the snow, but we'll work around it. Remember, the rebels aren't very neat and clean, right? So if things are a little crooked or whatever, it just it goes along with the theme here. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it. So yeah, this is where we are. I'm gonna bring the camera a little close and then end this video. So here we go. You know, if you're following along, look at that trench right there. And then this one over here. And you see the different layers. Let me come in a little close here. You can see this layer here. That's this and this is plaster poured down. This part over here was the drywall with the plaster on top. You see a little bit different color. We've got some mounds here. We've got this stuff over here. It's cracked a little bit. That was the drywall mud, but you know, we kind of want the natural cracking there. And we're gonna put some rocks and stuff in different places. So looking over here, you can see how we've done this. Okay, we got the deep gouges. You'll see some pink styrofoam there. There's some ideas I had. Maybe put some ice ridges or some rocks sticking up out. I kicked the camera, sorry. Over here, we've got some troops coming out. Okay. So this was a little bit more labor intensive. Intensive. Sorry, I've been talking in meetings all week. Definitely, you know, my videos are different than others. A lot of people would show this probably in 2 or 3 videos and fast forward, and you can, you know, where they speed up the film and all that stuff. But I'm just taking my time with it. All right, like and subscribe. If you're into Star Wars and terrain and you got friends, tell them to check it out. I'd like more subscribers. And I will see you in the next episode. All right. Hey, everybody be safe out there. Take care and have fun. All right. See you later.